Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the porch. This is Painted Porch Strategies. I'm Sierra Ram Cantrell, and I am joined by the beautiful Amy Yakowski and Rob Hunter. And we are here for our Stoic Book Club. This is the handbook for new Stoics. Everybody have their readers ready to go?
We do.
So this is a weekly journey for us in practices of Stoicism, and I greatly emphasize the word practice because nobody is perfect. Nobody is ever perfect. This is a practice. And this is week 19. Is that right? Yes, week 19. Wow. And the theme of this week is cut out busyness. So we live in a society right now where being busy is a badge of pride for some people. We have so many things that we're doing. We're so important. We need to be here, be there, or be here virtually, be there virtually, however you view it. But the question the Stoics are asking us is, are our lives becoming busier, but not necessarily more meaningful? What are our priorities? And are we really thinking about quality versus quantity? So just because you're doing more, does that necessarily mean that all of the things that you're doing, is that going towards building your character? Is that going towards you becoming a better person, a better whatever you are? Whatever you are, be the best version of that you can be. They talk about how human beings, in addition to doing stuff, need rest and a variety of stimuli in order to keep their minds focused. In other words, if you're running 1,000,000 miles a minute and you're never actually stopping, how is that actually serving you? Is it actually making you better and stronger, or is it just busy work? So first, I would love your thoughts when you first were reading this concept about busyness.
I realized how busy I am, but with filler things. So I stack things upon things upon things. And we've actually talked about this in these conversations on the porch before, how if I have an hour meeting, I'm like, okay, I have an hour meeting. I will schedule my next meeting a half hour after that, knowing it takes me 30 minutes to get there. So that I'm always like, okay, meeting's over, I got to go because I got to be at the next place in 30 minutes for my next meeting. So that was a big realization as reading this. And then you look at and tie the meaning to it of, why am I busy? What am I getting out of the busyness? So this caused me to kind of re-examine purpose in scheduling my life this way.
Yeah. Reading this for me, I mean, it's always a good reminder of this, because they always talk about, time is the ultimate, the ultimate equality in life. Everybody, regardless of your socioeconomic state, your race, your gender, whatever, everybody is allocated the same amount of time. The difference between those that are successful and those that aren't is really how they leverage it. So it was a good reminder. I'm not a fan of the hashtag hustle culture. I don't subscribe to that. I think it's a lot because of what they're saying here, that busy doesn't always mean purposeful or productive, or, from the Stoic principle, helping you improve or build on your character and your virtues, fulfilling what it is you're meant to be doing in the world. So that was, for me, the big reminder of the takeaway. It's interesting that you mentioned about also taking time to rest or reset. And I didn't even really think about that as I was reading this, but that's a very important piece as well, that it's not just the what you're doing can also be the things that you are not doing, meaning if you're meditating, meaning you're not getting on that next phone call, or you're reading a book, which means that you're not, staring in front of the television or whatnot. So that was really, I never thought about it that way, but that's something that you just brought to my mind that I have to now think about more. But yeah, it's always busy, busy, busy. And what are you spending your time doing?
But we've been programmed to think that, just like Sierra said. I mean, that's the sort of the mantra. That's how busy you are shows you how productive you are, when in reality it's the opposite.
Right. Yeah. And they talk about here that, there is evidence that says that the more hours you spend on a task can actually be worse because it's the law of diminishing returns there, that over time, if you're just staying too focused on it for too long of a period of time, you're losing sight of the perspective and the reset. Yeah.
Right. So this week, our job this week was to take some time each day and review how you spent your day. And they want us to identify a few things each day about how you spent your time, especially just a task. And they want us to look at two factors. So at any given task, did it serve your own needs, like help build character, truly important, or did they serve an important role? So did it either serve you and you're building your character, or did it serve an important role or important function? And this is where the awareness of every day comes in. So, you know, sometimes I'm sure we've all been in meetings where they ask us to think about how we're using our time. And you can't necessarily give equal measure to every task because not every task is the same. But this is asking us to look under the lens of, did this serve your own needs or did this serve an important purpose? So they also bring up the point, and I circled this several times, every time you take a few minutes for something, those add up to huge chunks of time over a lifetime. So pennies, if you spend a couple pennies every day, that adds up to dollars, that adds up to hundreds of dollars, right? If you think of it like that. So give me the skinny, guys. What kind of discoveries did you have as you were writing out some of these tasks? Important role, building character, yes, no, dish me the dirt.
Well, I do want to add one more thing to it, and maybe you're going to get to this, so I might be preempting. But as far as the tasks that I did, you know, I identified, and it said large or small, so I identified primarily the large ones, which is probably a little telling for me that I don't measure the small ones, but those are definitely the pennies to pounds to dollars. You know, as far as did they serve a need, or were they fulfill an important role? Most of them were yes. So I found that yes, I was able to answer yes for each of these, but there is a second question, which I'm sure you're going to get to next, that I didn't necessarily say yes to consistently. So yes, they fulfilled a need as far as helping me build this business as a business owner, helping to, try to create revenue and income for our family, feed our family, right? Keep them fed so we aren't starving, things like that. So even small things like going to the grocery store or whatnot, those are still important. They did serve a need that we have. But yeah.
I'll get to the second part in just a second. I'm going to jump to Rob. Rob, as you were identifying those tasks, did you have any aha moments?
The more creative the task, the more forward-looking the task, the more likely I was to say, yes, it is building my character. So there's a couple things. I'm working on a side project, just a voiceover project, which is great. But if it's not helping me build my character. It's something that I'm just doing. It started out as doing something for a friend, and it became this thing we do twice a year. But if it was getting to that next question we'll get to in a second, the answer would be no. But for another example, another company I'm working with, we have meetings every week. And I love those meetings because we're trying to build things. But as I was talking to Amy about it last night, one of the things I love about hanging out with Justin Cross, who's the CEO of Earn Your Booze, is our friendship is built on pushing each other. Through his business, Earn Your Booze, through being friends with each other, we're always trying to make each other better. It's just how we push each other. And that's always rewarding. So I would spend time doing that and say, yes, that's 100% worth it. But some of the other menial tasks, like cleaning the house, I'm like, nah, I don't get anything out of that other than clean house.
Yeah.
Like dusting and,
It's a great point. So the second aspect that you guys have been jumping at the bit to get to, we'll get to it, is with each of these tasks, would you have done this activity if today was your last day in this physical body? This is where it gets a little weird because most people don't know that today is their last day with any kind of notice. It's not like a alert pops up on your phone, last day of life. You know, it doesn't normally happen. It's usually a surprise. But in this pretend land, if somehow you had the omnipotence to know that today was your last day on earth, would you still do this activity?
I said no for pretty much all of mine. And that was very, it was very surprising. I don't know if it was surprising, but it made me catch myself to go, Now that doesn't mean that I don't think these things are important. Like I actually did when I talked about working on some of the things specific to Painted Porch, some of the emails and some Facebook posts and LinkedIn and finishing up editing the videos. I said maybe is what I wrote because I do, and the reason I said maybe was because I said, you know what, even if I'm gone, if someone was able to access this program or this information, I do still think it would be beneficial or helpful to others, even if I'm gone. So that's why I wrote maybe. It wasn't a resounding yes. It wasn't an affirmative no. It was maybe I would, but truly, if I knew this was my last day, probably not. I would probably be spending my time more focused on fun, really.
Yeah.
Not that these things aren't enjoyable, it's just not fun. I don't allow for a lot of fun in my life. And so if I knew this was my last day, it would be fun time for sure.
Okay, like all making love and eating chocolate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. And it's weird to think about the last day because if you do think about it, you realize what is most important to you. For me, it would be seeing everybody one last time that I want to see. Whether that would be a group Zoom call or whatever the case may be. That would be, if I could pick a last day and I knew, okay, November 18th, whatever was your last day. Okay, November 18th, I want to see everybody.
Okay.
Or I want to be somewhere else that I've never been that I get to see before I go to sleep, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you, Sierra?
Well, I didn't have a whole lot of aha here. You know, I realized that a lot of the things that I was writing down were somewhat tedious. But a lot of the things that and maybe this is just my perspective, a lot of the things that I wrote down that you might say are tedious tasks, I still identified as them serving an important role. A role that I have come to accept is a part of my role is being of service to others. Mm-hmm. So even if it's something that doesn't serve me, like selfishly serve me, if my role in life or my sankalpa, my life purpose is to help serve others, then something as menial as going grocery shopping or as doing laundry for my family, even though I might not love doing laundry, it is a way of serving people who I care about. So I still identify that as serving an important role. And Amy, to your point, I looked at it too as well. Even if it's my last day, I'm still setting up somebody else in a positive way for their tomorrow. Yeah. I didn't have anything that was like a giant no, I wouldn't do on my last day. I guess partly because I had a trouble wrapping my mind around how you would even approach your last day. Even if you knew, like, how would you do that? I like the idea of a phone call to see everybody. I like the idea of seeing something that you haven't seen, but also, like, I don't know, that was tough for me to imagine if it was actually your last day, what would you, and you could schedule anything, what would you really schedule?
Right. Well, and that's actually one of the concepts that I still struggle with. And as you said, I think this is really going to be a building block, I think, as we continue to move forward through these lessons. But there's the one concept that I do struggle with a lot with Stoicism is, to paraphrase, basically live each day as if it was your last. And I'm like, that's really, I conceptually, I get what they're doing. And I know this is the setup for that, to almost unintentionally or just subconsciously every day when you wake up, it might be your last day, you know, kind of approach the day that way. But I think for many of us, we would be living our lives a very different way if we did that. And I think in some ways it's meant to challenge you, to get you to confront or think about, you know, what it is you're doing within your day. But the truth is, there are so many things, that your least favorite word, Sierra, #adulting, that you have to do. But I guess to your point, you know, thinking about what you said, it's maybe just thinking about it a little bit differently and forcing yourself to think about it a little bit differently. So even some of the mundane things like, you know, going grocery shopping, or one of mine was
Which you don't have to do anymore, by the way. If you don't like it, you can order it and go pick it up.
You still gotta shop.
Yes, but you don't have to do it in the grocery store. So
right.
If that is, but I mean, there are so many technological advancements of things that we don't like to do, that to make our lives easier, that we can take advantage of. But I think the bigger point, I just want to jump in, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to add a bigger picture. I don't think it's really about thinking about what you would do on your last day. I think it's about realizing that you only have so many days. Why spend them doing stuff you don't actually want to do, or why spend them doing things that don't build your character? I don't think the point is to say, okay, if I could pick my last day, what would I do in the last day? I think the bigger picture is just that, is weed out stuff you really don't want to do, figure out how to make it more efficient.
Hi.
What's up, big coat?
I let me show you which.
Hold on. Where'd you go?
I was gonna. Daddy said to go relax.
Okay, let me
Hey,
just finish.
you got an A on this.
Yeah, I got an A.
Wait, but I want to show you.
You gotta tell me
real
after.
quick.
I'm just almost done with my
I got the
call.
Ant-Man toy.
Okay, but Uncle Rob's gotta go to work, so I gotta let him finish up. Okay, show me after. Okay, cool.
He can fly his wings.
Oh, he can fly his wings.
Nice.
Okay.
Sorry, I digress.
All good.
That's okay.
Life interruptions.
Yeah.
That makes you think about that, right? It's about how you want to approach every day. It's not about what you do. It's about where your mind is, and are you okay if today was your last day? And if not, what is it that you need to fulfill by the time it is your last day? So
Right.
if you're like, I'm not where I want in my career, I'm not in the right mindset, that's what it's about, to me, the bigger picture about how you live every day.
Yeah.
Because chances are tomorrow's not going to be my last day. Obviously, it could be. Chances are it's not. But at one point, it will be. So with my remaining days, how am I picking and choosing what I'm doing with my schedule to have maximum impact?
Well, I will say I was thinking when you were talking about talking to everybody one last time, I was thinking back to like in the old days when somebody was dying and they would have their dying words, right? The thing they say with their last breath. A lot of times, famously, those are secrets that they've held on to, and they're like, I'm dying, so I have to let this secret go, right? Or something that you never told the person, and now is your last chance, and you know you're dying, and you say it. But I would challenge that, and in the words of John Mayer, say what you need to say. Like, say it so that there isn't ever, if you don't get that chance to call somebody on the phone and tell them that thing you've always been meaning to tell them, is go ahead and tell them today, because you may or may not ever have that chance for those last dying words. So we're going to wrap up, and I definitely think that this is a building exercise for us. They want us to start thinking about this. I know this is going to come back around, you guys, so be ready for when this comes back around about the idea of busyness. And I would leave you with just the point they're trying to get to us is quality over quantity. how can you make the most out of whatever time there is? Raise your hand if you saw if you found this to be useful in some way.
I did.
I'll say yes. It like others, it kind of bummed me out as well too. So I'll be very honest. But I think what you've given me, Sierra, is an even further way to use your term, to kind of flip the script on it. So, serve your own needs, or if it was truly important, those are yes. And then just rethinking, okay, then what does that mean to me and my time? Because I did say yes to many of those things, but still on that last column, I said no. And why did I say no? And so that's something to think about, is how am I thinking about what fulfills me, or what is the thing that I want to spend my time doing the most, whether it's obligation of a need or contribution as an important item, right? So I think for me, I gotta ruminate on this a little bit more.
Maybe you haven't determined what's that important stuff yet. What means the most to you?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes we don't think about it that way.
Mm-hmm. We just do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's even the 8-hour workday, right? Why do we work an 8-hour workday? Because someone told us that's what we do. There's no real reason behind it. It's a made-up construct that somewhere in the 30s, I think, that they said, 8-hour workday is good. 40 hours a week is what you're supposed to work. Right. Okay, why?
Yeah.
Determined as a society, that's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Exactly.
And are all 8 of those hours actually constructive?
Oh no, I think statistically it's like 2.5 maybe out of the 8.
Yeah, so there's something else to consider. If you know that your employees really only need 2.5 hours a day to complete that, how can you challenge that old norm and figure out a way to have less quantity but a better quality? Mm-hmm. Whether that's you as an individual or you as a team member, whatever that is. I think they're trying to get us to start thinking about it in a different way. And I think they did that. I think we kind of got bogged down in some of the wordiness of this, but they're trying to get us to think about it in a different way. They're challenging our mind. If you want your mind to be challenged as well, if you want to go on this journey with us, this practice with us, we would love for you to join us. The Handbook for New Stoics. We talk every week. Sometimes we go off topic. Sometimes we veer around a little bit, but we are having fun and we would love for you to join us. If you haven't joined, join now, subscribe, see what's happening on the porch. Much love, everyone.
See you next week.